You are listening to an SAfm podcast, 104 to 107 nationwide. Stream us live on www.safm.co.za or via the SABC Plus app. SABC News, independent and impartial.
Now, projects worth nearly 170 billion are currently in procurement, where we have now moved beyond conceptualization to now procuring and getting the construction industry to bid for those projects. It is significant that blended finance projects, which leverage private sector financing, are also growing steadily. Now, this had tapered down over the years, and we're now seeing a great deal of interest. And this also shows the confidence that the private sector, notwithstanding what the doomsayers say about the investability of South Africa, because they often talk about doomsday and say that things are falling apart. But when you look at the book, the real investment book and the projects that are underway, you actually see a great deal of interest and confidence that is being invested in the country. In this calendar, 11 projects with a total investment value of 45 billion are expected to reach financial close. Now, reaching financial close has been one of those challenges, as all of you would know, because it's very easy to conceptualize a project and say we want to build the biggest dam in the world, but it is the crunch of closing the project financially that matters most. One of the areas that we have focused on is the unblocking of multiple government authorization permits, licenses and exemptions. Now, this has been a recurring challenge which we have focused on our reform journey.
And that was President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, speaking at the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium. And he further went on to also just touch on Infrastructure South Africa that has unblocked a total of 25 billion rand worth of projects in the renewable energy space.
Now, to date, Infrastructure South Africa has unblocked a total of 25 billion worth of projects in the renewable energy space using the Infrastructure Development Act to fast-track government authorizations. And there's much more work that needs to be done. But the important thing is that our reforms are beginning to bear fruit. Our reforms are unblocking and unlocking a great deal of investment.
So President Cyril Ramaphosa there addressing the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium, and that is currently underway at the Century City Convention Centre in Cape Town. But for more, we joined on the line now by Lufuno Ratsiku, who is the president of the South African of Project and Construction Management Professions.
Very important to an extent that currently where we are in the economy, one of the key measures that can be used to unlock our potential as a country is infrastructure development. Key to that is that projects must be completed on time and they must be completed within cost. Why is that important? It's so that projects can then quickly be released to serve the end users, which are the communities of South Africa. From water to energy to education, you need infrastructure development to unlock that potential and be able to deliver those services.
And I think that is, of course, the nub of the matter, because we seem to excel at overrunning and cost inflation on many of these major projects. And you can go from province to province, municipality to municipality to see how this plays out on a daily basis. Were there any sort of discussions about how to curb that?
Yeah, key to that is that when projects are released currently, in fact, one of the measures that the President and the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure spoke about is that we need to spend more time engaging stakeholders before releasing the projects into the ground. Why is that important? When communities are not engaged about the pipeline of projects and they just see them happening on the ground, they tend to be disruptive because of the hunger of participation, not because they are mafiaric or any other thing. But it's important that when projects are planned, the stakeholders are involved from the onset, from feasibility to planning, so that once the project hits the ground, everyone is engaged fruitfully to be able to participate. And one of the key measures is a component called social facilitation, which then engages everyone to say, this is the component that you'll be expected to participate in. This is the piece of cake of economy that you'll be able to cut from this project. Then expectations are aligned. When projects shoot on the ground, there are no disruptions further. So I think the country will be able to curb the reference that has been made around construction mafias, because when our communities are hungry, we shouldn't call them mafias, but we must get them involved, through planning until we roll out the projects to the end and deliver the services.
But to that point, we also, I would imagine, need to do, some research into who exactly these construction mafia are. Because are these really hungry community members, or are these just members of the community who somehow think that they are entitled to a certain percentage of a project? And usually this does not go to the broader community.
Yeah, that research is very important, in fact, Sakina. The reason why we start by making reference to our hungry communities is so that we point the accountability and responsibility that the leadership should take first. Then you are able to identify the criminal elements. But if you take a posture that say everything is okay, you can't even address anything proactively. So there are two components. There are communities that are genuinely hungry and they need to participate in infrastructure development projects. Then there are criminal elements of those that hijack projects, even when the 30% prescribed by law is shared with the communities. Those people still want to unjustifiably cut a piece that they don't deserve. Also, obviously, those, whichever term you give them, they are criminals and they need to be dealt with in measures that are in place.
And then I'm just looking at some of the costs. Incidentally, I had a conversation with the Premier of Limpopo this morning, Mr. Stan Matabata, and one of the projects we looked at there was, of course, the Giyani Water Project that ballooned from an initial cost of 90 million rand, and it's now standing at 4.1 billion rand. The SIU, of course, is investigating that, but that cost overrun is really eye-watering. Then you think of one of the other, or two of the other better known ones, Medupi and Kusile, and again there more than 300 billion rand in cost overruns. And when you look at figures like that, does it even make sense to start any project under the current circumstances?
Yeah, so two things here, Sakina, and I'm speaking again on behalf of the SACPCMP. Our role as a regulatory body to register project managers, how do we respond to the cost overruns you're speaking about? Projects must be run by professionals that are accredited correctly, who understand what planning should be involved in cost management, what planning should be involved in schedule management. The reason why you've got all these projects running 5 years beyond schedules is because correct professionals are not involved. People who understand the cost planning are not involved. And at the end of the day, they have nothing to lose. They can just keep on postponing the end of this project so that escalation can benefit them. Inflation, now and then they will claim for additional costs, additional time. But if you get people who have got something to lose, who are registered correctly with regulatory bodies, they will definitely align to their compliance requirements.
Mr. Lufuno Ratsiku, thanks so much for your time this afternoon, President of the South African Project and Construction Management Professions.
You can find SAfm Current Affairs on 104 to 107 nationwide. Our podcasts are available for download on all our digital platforms. SAfm, leading the conversation.